Quadratic function is a function that has the highest degree as a 2. So something like this would be considered a quadratic function. The degree is the highest exponent that is on a variable, not on a number. Okay, a quadratic function usually only has one variable. This is called standard form or standard polynomial form. The highest degree is first, and then it goes to 1, and then no variable. That's the constant. Now there's different ways to solve these. We have the factoring way, that's the zero property. We have the quadratic formula, which is like your silver bullet. He works all the time. The square roots, this one's really nice and simple if you understand it. If you don't, it'll confuse you. Obviously, I guess that's the opposite of understanding. And then we have graphs. Graphs, write x-intercepts next to graphs. Those are your answers. We look for x-intercepts. This is not always accurate, and it's not always easy to do for graphs, but there is a way to solve a quadratic function. So the first thing we're going to look at is the factoring. Here we go. Now on all of these, except for the square roots, you want the equation to equal 0. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to make this thing equal 0 by subtracting 3 from both sides. If I subtract 3 from both sides, you're only subtracting from the constant, so then you get 4. It equals 0. Yay! Unfortunately, we have a leading coefficient that is not equal to 1, and so we got to do some grouping. Alright, that's one way to do it. I also like to use the box. I will do the box. We go 2 times 4, which is 8. That number goes up top. Then we have 9 on the bottom. What two numbers multiply to give me 8, but then add to give me 9? And the answer is 8 and 1. And then you go over here, you make your box. And then we put the 2x squared right here, and then the 4 right there, and then right here we put a 9x. The 8 and the 1 go inside of that. And then you're able to factor out a greatest common factor from each column and row. So here we go. Let's do the first one. We take out a 2x from that one, we get 2x. The next one, we can't take out anything, so we take out a 1. The next one, we can take out an x. The next one, we can take out a quattro. And so we have two factors. We have 2x plus 1, and the other factor is x plus 4. And now it equals 0. This is the same thing as this. This right here is called standard polynomial form. This right here is called factored form. Once you're in factored form, you can solve using the zero property just simply by taking each of these factors and set them equal to 0. So I take these factors, I set them equal to 0. And then I get my answers. I get x equals -1/2 and -4. Now some of you guys don't need to set them equal to 0. You can look at the two factors right there and figure it out for yourself. Like this one right here. I just need to plug in -4 right there to make this equal to 0. And 0 times whatever -4 is plugged into this, 0 times that is going to be 0. And so these two numbers work. They make each of these factors equal to 0, which would then give you 0. So if you actually test them, it would work. Now let's look at the next one. This one right here doesn't look like the one before, but just because it doesn't look like the one before doesn't mean you cannot factor it. I can factor that just by simply taking out a 3 from both of those dudes. So I take a 3 out of the first one. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and x squared divided by x is x. And then I have 3x divided by 3x, which is going to be a 1, equals 0. Both of these are factors. We have a 3x and a 2x plus 1. I take each of those and set them equal to 0, says the zero product property. I get x equals 0 and 1/2. So those are my answers to these quadratic functions. And to solve this one, I used factoring.